Hey everyone, this is being recorded so the people who can't watch this live can see it later. So welcome, and first off I just want to say you made it, all right? So well done, because that actually means a lot. It means that even after everything that you've been through, there's a part of you that just refuses to give up. And that part, a tiny little spark of life, is who we're here to actually work with tonight. And yeah, somebody else, you can realize that somebody else tried to break you, and they have all sorts of manipulation tactics and all sorts of different ways of abusing you and getting into your subconscious mind. But they did damage you. But I want you to realize the bigger strength here is that you're still here. And now the responsibility for repair actually falls on your shoulders. Right, and the lessons now is to learn how to heal, to fix what they left behind. And it's not because it's your fault, because your healing is your birthright. And I'm just going to take you through who I am and why this matters. My name is Miles, and I'm the founder of Narcovery, and we're a trauma-informed recovery model that's built for survivors of trauma and abuse. And since 2019, I've helped over 1,000 people recover from the psychological, emotional, and spiritual damage that toxic relationships have. And in terms of my training, I've trained in IFS, which is internal family systems, DBT therapy, which is dialectic behavioral therapy, somatic therapy, breath work, hypnotherapy, trauma-informed group work. And I've studied under teachers like Dr. Ramani, and many of you know Dr. Ramani, and Janina Fisher, I'm sure many of you know her, and Richard Schwartz, who's the godfather of IFS, and Paul McKenna as well. But the truth is, what actually qualifies me the most is I was actually where you were. Right? Because I know what abusive relationships are like and what it does to the mind. I know what it does to the body and the soul. And that's why Narcovery exists, to give you a path that actually works. And what tonight is, I'm also going to tell you what it's not. I want to be really clear on that, because tonight isn't about analyzing narcissists or diagnosing anyone. Why? Because that's a trap. Because it keeps you looping in those old trauma stories and those old survival stories. What tonight actually is about is the work of walking out of someone else's shadow and back into your life. Because what heals you, heals you. What you're going to realize is obsessing and replaying the past, those don't heal you. But doing the actual work that actually restores your nervous system, your identity, and will get you back your peace is what's far more important. But what I want you to know is whether you're here live or you're watching the replay later, is the fact that you're here means something inside you already knows. And you don't want to live the way that you're living right now, with anxiety or worry or flashbacks or trouble sleeping. All of those things are just damage from these toxic environments over time. And the work that we actually do to heal, it's not surface work. This call isn't going to heal you. What it is going to do is give you a map to guide you on your healing journey. And what we're going to explore tonight are a bunch of different things. Today we're actually going to focus on the roadmap for healing. But there are other videos where I go through the toxic abuse cycle, the Narcovery 8Fs. There's a drama triangle, and everyone that's registered for this, you'll get an email. And you'll get the full deck that I'm going to take you through. And we will have a question and answer period, and I do want to talk to everyone that's here, and I can answer your questions live. And in the meantime, you can leave your questions in the chat, and if you're watching later, you can leave them in the comments, and I'll respond there too. But guess what? You're already doing the hardest part. It's like you're showing up. And that, that's the part where things actually start to shift. So I'm just going to share my screen. There we go. I'm hoping this works. I do want to get the chat open so I can look at it. And thank you, Yvette. Happy holidays, and hello, Donna. All right, so what I'm going to take you through is a Narcovery roadmap, and this is a survivor's guide to healing. I'm going to take you briefly through what this is all about, and because if you've been through narcissistic abuse, you know how what being invisible can actually feel like. Right? And the world doesn't always see it. And the whole thing is, it's like why this has become such a specialty is that therapists don't always understand it. Even 10% of my clients are therapists right now. But even if you have questions, like inside the back of your mind, even wondering, was it even bad enough? Those are all really important questions to realize. But inside your body, what you're going to actually realize is you're going to find truth. Our body tells the truth. Because the truth is going to appear as self-doubt, your nervous system being on high alert, the emotional roller coaster that you're going on, the shrinking of your identity, the voice in your head that sounds a lot like theirs. And what this document is going to do, and everyone's going to get access to it. If you've registered, you should be getting the email tomorrow. But this document is here to help you name what happened, to give language to the patterns, and to structure to all the chaos. And it's actually just a roadmap back into yourself. And this is for anyone who's ready just to stop spiraling and actually work towards the healing process. Because what we're going to realize is that, it's not about understanding narcissism, it's actually about undoing the damage. And there are two different things. Understanding who they are and why they do these things. It can give you some relief. But long term, learning how the trauma actually hijacks your body and your mind, and learning how to reclaim both, that becomes where the healing journey actually gets some results. And in this document, you're going to find the things that I was talking about, the abuse cycle, how the abuse cycle happens over time, the Narcovery 8Fs, the drama triangle. None of those I'm going to take you through today. But I am going to take you through a practical healing system. And I'm actually going to share links in the chat as I kind of go through them. And you can get more in depth into the parts of this document that I'm skipping. But I'm going to focus on this today. And this is the 7-step roadmap. Now, I don't call it the trauma recovery roadmap. I don't call it anything. It's actually more of a roadmap for life, just in general. And you can use this roadmap for everything. And to give you a sense of what that might look like, you can create a roadmap for your career. You can create a roadmap for your relationship with kids or family. You can create a roadmap for the week. You can create a roadmap for the month. You can create a roadmap for the year, a 10-year roadmap. All of these things are really, really important. And the whole thing, reason for it is, it's just like we need to actually understand a few things. Right? Because the daily practices for healing and growth and returning to yourself, it's not one and done. It is a commitment. And the whole thing with this roadmap is once you hit number 7, you know what you do? You go back to number 1 and you do the roadmap again and again and again. And it is a practical roadmap. And this is a roadmap to whatever your soul is calling you towards. If you're looking for peace, if you're looking for purpose, creativity, freedom, everyone has their own end goal. Like trauma recovery isn't something that you want to do forever. When I take on a client, it is a long-term process to heal, but there is an end point. And you decide what that end point is. Where is it that you want to be? And then keep doing the work till you get there. And you can use this again and again and again. Like I said, and have daily, weekly, or whatever timeline it is, and have roadmaps for multiple things that you want to do. So I'm going to take you through the roadmap, and I think everyone's going to find this helpful. And if you have a pen and a piece of paper, my suggestion is actually write this down for yourself, and see what kind of roadmap that we can build for yourself. But the first thing is we have to know what we want, right? And a lot of people, it's just like, all right, this is where you are, but where do you want to be in a year? Like, where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? If we make that timeline a little bit bigger, and then we figure out what it is that we want, not what we want now, but what we want long term. And then in order to do that, we need to awaken the healed self. If we use the drama triangle, we need to go to the observer. We need to set a boundary for the past and old habits and things that we feel that we can never fix. And then we need to actually, ask ourselves the deeper questions, not from a reactionary state. I want revenge, or I want justice, or any of those things, because you're going to find that it becomes far more difficult. And it's also unrealistic. But in order to do that, you need to awaken your healed self. And you can be just by slowing your breath, just by thinking about the future, rising from that state of who you want to be, and be that person. And then start asking the big questions. And it's not from your wounded self. It's not revenge. It's not survival. It's not fear. We need to remove those emotions in order to get a clarity. And it's not like we just ignore them and pretend that they're not there. Just ask them to step aside. And for a little while, we'll figure out what is it that your healed self wants to create. And then you ask yourself the next question: what does freedom actually look like for me? Right? And you start writing all that out. And what would you like life to look like if you're already whole? So start creating that end version of you. And then it might take asking that question 7 times to get true. Right? Because you might write down, like, what I want to be is I want to be free of my flashbacks. Well, actually, that doesn't work, does it? I want to be strong. Why do you want to be free of your flashbacks? Oh, because they hold me back. All right, but if they weren't holding you back, what would you be? Well, I would be stronger. I'd be more confident. I'd be more aware. I'd be wittier. I'd be funnier. All of those things. All right, but why do you want those things? Well, so I can, be the role model for my children or others, or because I want to have career growth and I want to have something else. But you can see how it says you start off with that wrong question. If you put the wrong thing at the top, if you don't go deep enough when we first start doing this, and it's not what you don't want, it's what you actually want, and start going deeper. And what you realize is what you want is to make a big impact on the world. It's not to be free of your flashback. It's actually, because once those are removed, what is it that I can actually do? And then you can put that at the top of your thing. That's what I want. But make sure you ask yourself at least 7 times, what is it that I want? The first thing, write it down. Then ask yourself, why do I want that? And then sit with that for a while and see what comes up. And then ask the question again. And then again and again and again. And we start to go to the deeper layers. And you're actually going to find out what you really want. And once we kind of go from there, we got to go to the truth. What's getting in my way? Right? This is where we have to be brutally honest with ourselves. From our future self looking into our present self. What is it that's true about what's getting in my way? And what this is, why don't I have it yet? The whole thing is to call things out. And this is a time for brutal honesty. And this is done with compassion, not shame, but with compassion. What's getting in your way? Is it trauma? Is it PTSD? Is it fear? Is it because you are financially dependent on someone? It's money? Whatever those things are, write those down. Everything that gets in your way. And then ask yourself, is it a belief that I don't deserve this, or I'm not good enough? Put that down, your belief systems, what you believe about yourself. And write it all down, every single excuse, every single doubt, every single obstacle, everything that's getting in your way from healing, write it down. Because you might as well look at what you have to overcome. And these things, don't think of them as your enemy, but they're your teachers. So put them all down. And then number 3 is once we kind of create that space, so we know what we want, and we've gone deep enough to know that this is what we really want. And then next is we know what's getting in our way. If this is what I want, this is what I have to overcome in order to do that. I have to actually do something. And this is something that we have these little windows of clarity where our mind's kind of open and we see things a little bit bigger. We have to do something right now. What can you do right now? You've got that list of what you want. You know what's in your way. Make a commitment to doing something about it because momentum fades. So we have momentum, we use it. So, and it could be just, booking a session. It could be getting support. It could be signing up for a class. It could be learning about recovery tools. It could be doing something. Because, doing something is no longer an option, or doing nothing is no longer an option for us. And keep in mind, when we first start this process, it's not going to be perfect, but it does need to be real. So make sure that you use that momentum. What can I do right now? And once you have that momentum, do you remember the things in number 2? All the things that were getting in your way? Cool. This is where we slay all obstacles, where we slay those dragons. Right? And that takes training, and that takes practice, and that's not done quickly. But we have to slay those dragons, and we do that by making actual changes. Not talking about changes, not thinking about changes, but actually making those changes. But before we do that, we have to remove the BS. And slaying obstacles isn't just about doing more. It's not. It means confronting the BS. When I say BS, I mean belief systems that I can't, or I'm too old, or that I can't recover from this. That's all belief systems, and they keep you stuck. Whatever your belief systems are, it's too late for me, or nobody will ever love me, or nobody cares enough, or I'm broken and this is just how I am now. Right? All of those things are BS. And those beliefs, they were actually planted by fear, they were planted by the abuser, they were planted by trauma. And all of these manipulation tactics are to keep you small. And yeah, you've got a bigger thing to overcome right now, but imagine what happens if you actually overcome it. Your life changes. So the next part is doing that, removing the BS, slaying all those obstacles, taking all those things. And then you also have to create a routine. Keep in mind, this isn't just one and done. This isn't making the list and my life is magically going to get better. No, this means actually doing the work. And the work is done daily. Recovery is a daily process. And you don't need a 20 steps routine. It doesn't have to be complicated, but what you need is consistency. And you need to check in with your nervous system regularly. And then there's tools for this, right? Breath work can help with grounding. Journaling can help remind you of what got in the way and what the thoughts are that you need to get rid of. IFS can break down your trauma into smaller parts that we can work with. Meditation is good for your nervous system. Movement, all of these things really help. Yoga, there's great research on yoga and how body holds stress. Exercise, movement, changing your physical appearance, getting your brain chemistry up. Music therapy works really well. There's so many different ways that we can create routines that take us closer towards the healing process. None of these are cures, but they do make the path towards healing far more bearable. And then what we do every single day, we challenge those old beliefs. It means doing your shadow work, right? And then it's like, talk to yourself with radical kindness. Those days where you just feel like you can't move or can't do anything, be kind to yourself. This makes sense. It makes sense. My system is overwhelmed. It's been overwhelmed for a really long time. This makes sense. Maybe I should go a little bit slower. Be a little kind to yourself. The healing path isn't instant and it's not linear. And you're going to have bad days. And if we're kinder to ourselves in those bad days, if we're mean to ourselves in those bad days, guess what? It'll turn into a week, a month, a year, a decade. But if we're a little kind to ourselves, then a day will stay a day. And the next day will be a new day. And we can start that practice again and again and again. And it doesn't happen from thinking. It actually happens from practicing. Thinking your way through trauma, it doesn't work. We feel our way through trauma, and we create momentum, and we move our way through it. And next is 6. Raise your expectation. Right? Healing can't come in a vacuum. It doesn't just, I want it, and I'm going to manifest it. No, we have to actually raise our expectations. And the way that we do that is we check in with ourselves or others. And this is where you level up. This is where professional support comes in, because you get to check in. Make sure that you're following your path. And it also means leveling up. That, what took you out it's going to take you out. That's really important. So learn to expect more from your life. Expect deeper honesty from yourself. Expect better connections with others. And let people support you. So many of us think that we can't do this on our own, but keep in mind, we can't just let anyone support us. Our abusers aren't going to fix us. People with short attention spans, even though they love us, they don't have the bandwidth. in order to be with all those things. So it is finding the right people, the mentors who challenge you, put you, who will be honest with what you're doing and what isn't working for you. And it gives you like just a mirror to look at, to judge your own process, and to actually remind you of the steps that you've already done. You've climbed to another plateau. You're seeing a little bit higher. You can look and see that mountain is still so much higher. But stop and turn around. Look what you're not feeling anymore. Look what you are working through, right? And this is where the raising your expectations comes in. And then this is also a really important part. It's where we celebrate all our wins. And this is really, really important because we're not celebrating getting to the top. We're celebrating climbing up a little bit because we celebrate the stages, right? And we also celebrate something else. We celebrate the setbacks, right? And I'll explain why. Right? So what do you want to celebrate? Well, maybe you got out of bed after being in bed all day. That's a win in my book. You went to work. Great. That's a win too. You felt something instead of numbing it. That's a major win. What do? We don't want to feel intense emotions. What if we let ourselves feel those emotions and realize that we're not dying? And even though they were intense, they were brief. They're not permanent. Emotions aren't permanent. It's like, cool, that's a major win. Not numbing is a major win. And even setback is a win because it'll give you new information. So what do you do when you hit a wall? What happens if you have a setback? You know what you do? You go back to number one. You go right back to the beginning. Why? Because now you have more information to put into number two that you didn't have before. Remember what you wanted? I want to be a role model for others. I want to teach, or I want to, whatever your thing is. Do you still want that? Right? Cool. Great. We'll add your setback to number two. And then what do? We commit to attacking the setback. And then what do we do after that? It's just we go through the entire process again and again and again. And the beauty of the roadmap is you every time that you start again, you start with more information. And that information is what makes us wiser and wiser and wiser. And when we're done, we just go right back to the beginning. What is it that I really want? If you had a setback, put it in here. And then commit to a plan. That this setback isn't going to stop my recovery or my progress. What's the bullshit? Well, this is too hard. Right? That's the BS. And then create a routine, a new routine that addresses this setback. And then check in with yourself and others. Because reality is, all the problems that you're going to face, all the setbacks you're going to face, they've actually been solved by somebody else. The information for what it is that you need to overcome exists. So it's just check in with somebody else that's either dealt with something that's similar or that you respect, and get more information. Slay all obstacles, create a new routine where those obstacles are being taken in place, and then raise your expectations. I expect more of myself, and then celebrate the wins. And then if you get another setback, yay. Now you have more information. So the next time through the process, you have something more to put into number two because you didn't even know that was an obstacle. Cool. Then that's what it is. And that's kind of how we use this roadmap towards recovery. And then there's also 3 phases before recovery can even begin. Before we go on this path, before we make that commitment and say, enough is enough, I've hurt long enough, there has to be 3 stages that we go through. And most of us are going to get stuck in one of these stages. And some of us stay here forever. Right? We look at, some of the traumas that our parents may have experienced or our grandparents may have experienced. They get stuck in these stages and they just live with them. That becomes their home. That becomes their normal. And the first is recognizing that I have a problem. Is it bad enough? And we have to decide whether it's bad enough. Because it might not be bad enough. Right? Well, I'm managing. Alcohol works. Right? I'm just zoning out every day. I don't need to go to work anymore. This works. Right? But then, is it bad enough to actually change a behavior? So it's just like learning about, gaslighting, all of these other things. And keep in mind, when you're in an abusive relationship, most of us didn't even know. Right? We didn't even know. We didn't even call it abusive. We didn't even know what a narcissist was. Then all of a sudden, here it is. We got all this emotional manipulation. So, of course, we're not going to heal from something we don't even see. So we become that, becomes that. And then you have to make a decision to do something. Have I hit my limit? Right? And this is where most people kind of hesitate. You know that there's something wrong, but the pain isn't intolerable. And because you've been groomed and conditioned, pain becomes very normal. And if you're going to normalize that pain, or you're just going to try to manage it with whatever symptoms you are, you're basically going to go on the abuse cycle, but you're going to be self-abusing, right? You're going to get triggered. You're going to find a place to dissociate or disconnect or numb out. And then after that goes on for a while, you'll find some calm. And then the flashback will come back because there's unprocessed trauma there. There's hurt there. And then you're going to have another flashback or another trigger. And then you're going to repeat that cycle again and again. So we go from them abusing us to us abusing us. And if we can just stop doing that, you're going to make a lot of progress. But the whole thing is if we're just managing, we can live on those things forever. And you may not have hit your limit. And then the last step is, take action. What can I do right now? There is no action without that first step. Right? Even though we look at a journey of 1,000 miles, it's just like, that first step seems so hard, but the momentum in that step. This is where you actually decide to do something about it. It could be booking a session, it could be getting support, it could be joining a group, it could be, getting trauma-informed support, or sharing your story, or say no for the first time in a really long time. All of those things are just kind of steps to taking action right now. And I am just going to stop my share. And yeah, I'll go through the questions in a second. But I'm also going to share with you a link to my calendar. And this is my personal calendar. This isn't the one that anyone has access to. But you'll have a chance to book a call. And if this is a path that you're ready to go on, I can give you an assessment and just kind of see where you are, and give you some tools in order to get you started on this journey. And if you choose to join one of our programs, then great. I will be there with you for the entire for your entire recovery process. I see Mary posted a comment. Why is being angry not effective with others when you're trying to tell your side? Because everyone believes the narc. That's a really good question. And the whole thing is narcissists are very, very charming. And I want you to understand that. Let's analyze what anger actually is. Anger is and we're not going to label any emotions as good or bad. They're just emotions. They're just emotions. But anger comes in when a boundary's been violated, right? So cool. Let's use anger as information as opposed to a tool. Because anger is a completely understandable reaction. And it makes sense. Like you've been mistreated. And what you're talking about is lying and gaslighting and manipulation and slander, all of these things. So it feels like you're getting pushed into a corner where it feels like the whole world becomes the narcissist version of the story. But take a look at it this way. It's just like anger isn't wrong. It isn't wrong. It's human. But here's where anger doesn't work when you're trying to get people to understand your side, right? Because why? Well, you have to understand that narcissists manipulate and they weaponize your anger. They actually count on it. They push you to the point where they break and they say, look how unstable you are, with erasing everything that got to that point. Right? The anger becomes evidence that they use against you. And your anger, it hits people's nervous systems and not their logic. So when you are angry, you're in a nervous system state. And when somebody is emotional, others go into defensive mode. And, they stop listening, they stop believing, or they stop emphasizing. When somebody's yelling their truth at you, people stop listening. Right? And what you end up learning is that the neutral stories, they actually sound far more believable than these intense emotional ones. And a narcissist can calmly deliver a lie with a steady tone. And you can see how well that works. Right? So when you deliver the truth with a shaky voice or tears, and unfortunately, people believe the calm liar before they believe a distressed truth teller. And it's not because that they're right, it's because humans mistake calmness for credibility. And anger, it comes from trying to be understood by the wrong people. If somebody is already aligned with the narcissist, your anger won't convince them. It'll actually confirm that they already want to believe. You're giving them the evidence. Right. And the whole thing with especially like flying monkeys, it's just like they do come around, right? Everyone that's against you a year from now, they'll probably have a different story to tell. But what they want to see is somebody who's calm, somebody who's more present, right? And when people see reactions, not the provocations, right? They'll see you yelling or crying or defending. What they don't see is the years of gaslighting or the betrayal or the psychological warfare that's kind of gone on, or the emotional torture that led to that reaction in the first place. Nobody sees that, right? It's almost like the tape recorder only starts when you lose your temper. Right, so anger actually isn't a problem. It's just not as strategic in environments that are shaped by manipulation. What you're going to find is the truth that, it might be hard to hear, but it's so important to say, is you don't have to convince everyone. Right? You don't need to defend your side to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Know your audience. The people that are meant to understand will see the truth without burning yourself alive in order to explain it. And keep in mind, I'm not saying that your anger isn't valid. It is very valid. But it's not a tool that we can use for changing people's minds. It's a signal that in time, people actually use against you. Because narcissism lacks empathy and does not care about the view of the situation. Yeah, Yvette answered it perfectly. And not with him or others on the outside. Yvette says belief systems that keep you stuck into feeling not worthy of love. And that's part of the grooming. The grooming is, if you look at the abuse cycle as it kind of goes through, that those abuse cycles are designed to lower your self-esteem. And what Yvette is talking about is that belief that you're not worthy of love is a lie that was kind of implanted into your nervous system to make you more malleable, make you more easier to control. Worthy of love, and you can't survive without your abuser. Yeah, what they're trying to do is create that chemical codependency, and you'll never be anything other than any lies a narcissist has. They think that they can just label you and create those things, right? Just remember, just like anger is valid. And this stuff is being weaponized against you. If you make a narcissist mad, you're doing something right. It's absolutely true. Because what you're doing is you're testing their limitations and their boundaries, and it's not something to be afraid of. The beliefs that we have that keep us stuck, they're not random. They're actually instilled over time through conditioning and gaslighting. And I gave you guys the map of how it's done and how the self-esteem gets taken down. And those thoughts that get implanted, like I'm not worthy of love, I can't survive without them, I've never been enough. All of those things, they're not your fault. I do love that he tells people that he hates me. Cool. Well, he doesn't really have the credibility. Alicia, very helpful. Looking forward to digesting this info. Good. Do you want to come off the speaker, Alicia? Do you feel like sharing?
Turn around. Good evening.
Hey.
Yes, that's a lot of great information. Thank you, Miles. And yes, very, very helpful. Well, my situation now is I am struggling with the relationship with my adult kids.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand how, because it my we're separated and in the middle of the divorce, and we are right now, he has a restraining order against me, so we don't even talk, no communication whatsoever. And even after what happened, I am just stunned that the kids are, I don't know, on his side. I don't feel like they're on my side. I don't know what he told them. There is absolutely, I cannot say one thing or anything that has anything to do with him. And my therapist is telling me, just leave it alone, just tell them you love them, and they will come around at some point. And my friends, my support group is saying the same thing, but it's right now, it is what is throwing me off, and what is, every time I see my kids, you know it's not a transparent and trusting, respectful relationship. It's a fake relationship. I think they don't want to acknowledge certain things. I don't know what they are really going through.
How old are the kids?
27 and 25.
Okay.
So it's just a very hard situation, and every time I see them, I feel like I am taking 2 steps back in my recovery.
And you probably are, because it is triggering. I have a 2 hour, like, I'll answer your question for you as best as I can. But I do have, and I'm just looking at my own feed, there is a 2 hour video where I go into all of this. And it'll actually give you enough of the background to understand how the conditioning of children works, how the manipulation works, how parental alienation kind of takes place, all of those things. Unfortunately, I have 4,400 videos on here, so I will find it. Search your channel. Here it is, parental. Here it is, parental alienation. I am.
Are your videos on YouTube by any chance, or?
Yeah, they're on YouTube. The links to the other videos are here. I just posted that link for you to watch. It is 2 hours, and that'll give you the actual in-depth understanding of what they are. And you can just click on that and then close it and watch it later, because once this chat is over, you'll probably lose the links. But what you're going through is actually one of the deepest wounds that a survivor can face. And because I got that question so many times, and I've a lot of experience with it, it's just like I did that 2 hour video, because it was just like everything you need to understand, most of it will be covered there, and anything you need more as support with, you can contact me directly. But what your children know, it just still ends up believing the other parent. And what ends up happening for you is just the shock of it all. And you got to deal with grief. And there's also going to be a sense of betrayal, right? These are the emotions that we're going to look through doing the abuse cycle backwards. It's like those are the emotions that we have to actually go through. Otherwise, we continue to go down the abuse cycle the wrong way. But what's actually happening is the narcissists, they start the narrative early. So I want you to understand that these seeds were planted, and they could have been planted before the divorce, could have been planted during the relationship. All of those things. But by the time
Now
the
I'm
divorce...
finding out, yes,
Yeah,
because I'm
so-
finding some documents that it's a year ago he was already making a split of the assets on his spreadsheets and things like that. So, but yes, the conditioning, I think, last 2 years.
But keep in mind, the conditioning that you've dealt with is the same conditioning that your kids are doing with, which is why I strongly recommend going through the recovery process, because eventually your kids are going to come back and you're going to be stable enough to know how to handle them, right? And it is a long-term strategy. There is no quick fix to trauma recovery, right? When I take on a client, it takes a really, really long time to work through it. But It becomes the work ahead. It becomes planting the seeds now with your kids in the relationship, and position them. They position themselves as victims long before you even know the war has even begun. And adult children don't want to believe their parent is abusive. Keep in mind, your children are chemically bonded to you, and they're chemically bonded to him, and it fractures their internal world. Right? It threatens their sense of identity, their sense of safety. So the nervous system chooses the easiest story. And if you actually look at it with a little bit of sympathy for the kid's point of view, it's easier for them to do that. And a lot of kids align themselves with the most toxic person because they actually feel safer there. Because if they align with you and he's attacking you, he's also going to attack them. But if they align with them, you're the safer parent. Right, so it's a good position that you're being in, but it helps dismantle some of the cognitive dissonance that's going on in your mind. And by choosing him isn't proof that he's right, right? It's just proof that they're overwhelmed and they can't see the bigger picture yet. And it's going to take time for those messages to get to them. And they're reacting actually towards pressure, not truth. Because adult kids, they often feel like they must pick a side. And the problem with narcissistic parents is they excel at creating urgency and guilt and obligation and getting them to commit to things and making them fear if they make that wrong choice. But you, on the other hand, if you look at your role in this whole thing, it's like you give them what? A giving space, a safe space, a place where there's no manipulation. And ironically, it's healthier behavior that scares the kids in those places that were raised on dysfunction, because they're going to have to do their own trauma work at some point as well. But I also want you to realize that you're the advice that you're getting and the things that you're talking about is looking at it as a long-term thing. Being a parent, like you're going to be their parent till your last breath, right? And we're probably not going to resolve things in this today or this week. But we can plant seeds this week and next month and next year. And then eventually the whole thing is it's not permanent, right? And your therapist is correct and the groups are correct. The worst thing that you can do right now is to chase or explain or justify or defend yourself. Or it was much like my conversation with Mary earlier about the anger. If you're angry with them, it's like, why would they want to be around somebody who's angry? And then it plays into the narrative, the lies that they've been told. So we have to just not play the role that we've been assigned. And your relationship with them isn't a loss. So I just want you to see it as paused for a second. You're still their mom. You'll always be their mom. And what they need from you right now is actually consistency, not clarification. Not to fix the problem, but just be consistent. So the more that you stay grounded, the more that you can stay stable, the more emotionally safe that you can be, while the other parent inevitably is going to show, they're going to unmask. They unmask to you. They eventually unmask to everyone, and eventually your kids are going to orient themselves back towards you. And this is a longer game. This isn't a sprint, right? And the discomfort that you're feeling right now, the lack of transparency, the tension, it's because the kids are confused. Right. It's not because they don't love you. Don't ever put that thought in your mind. They do love you. Kids of narcissists, they learn to manage emotional landmines, and when they're with you, they have to hold both realities in their head. And that tension that you feel, their internal conflict, it's not rejection. It's just part of the grooming process and survival strategies that they had to endure, right? But if you actually look at what your kids want underneath it all, it's just to have a safe space. Just for a grounded person to come, a steady, warm place. And over time, that wins.
Right. No, it makes total sense. And I have to work on myself to give them what they need, which right now I am a mess myself. Trying to, take a day at a time, like, what's the
Oh, I think you muted yourself. I can't hear you. I'm sorry. The mute mic went on. There you go.
I'm
You're
sorry.
back.
Yes.
But yeah, I heard you say like taking things at a day at a time. But even Keith, it's just like, but even if you look at what we talked about today was the roadmap, it's just like, look where you want to be. I want to be a loving guide towards my children and future grandchildren. right? Cool. What's getting in the way? Well, your trauma is getting in the way. Your anxiety is getting in the way. Your need for instant validation is getting in the way. All of those things are getting in the way. Cool. So commit to doing something about it, right? And then slay those obstacles one by one. You work through each of those traumas, and then you're there. I'm also going to put in the link because I can go into more detail about just recovery strategies and stuff like that. If you book an appointment, and I can talk to you one on one. So it's in the chat. Just click it just so it opens. So when the call is over, it doesn't disappear. But I hope that's helpful. All right, does anybody else have any questions? Let me go back into the chat. Adriana, what kind of physical symptoms from trauma have you seen or helped people recover from? Gobs of them. A lot of the stuff, because if you go through like even Bessel van der Kolk's work and the body keeps the store, what you're going to realize is that stress and trauma affects your nervous system. You're going to be living on more adrenaline and more cortisol, and everyone's body absorbs those things in different ways. Right. It was just like for the longest time, like I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease when I was a teenager, and then, that got reduced to IBS. And then once I started going through the trauma work, it was because the stress and the cortisol was going into my digestive system. And as I was like working through that, the last colonoscopy that I got, everything was all clear. So our body does heal, but the whole thing becomes, and those are just kind of physical symptoms that can happen. But there's studies that Bessel van der Kolk published on rheumatoid arthritis, and even because rheumatoid arthritis has been linked to childhood trauma and in high stress work environments. And who was the other doctor? Richard Schwartz. He did a long-term case study of an IFS treatment on people with rheumatoid arthritis, and their symptoms drastically reduced. So you can see how much our mind actually takes place, because trauma doesn't just live in the mind; it does live in the body. And what we're going to realize is that narcissistic abuse, it creates chronic survival state, and that affects pretty much our entire nervous system. I talked to you about kind of like, for me, it hit me in the digestive system, and for some of the most common systems I've seen with clients over the years. That we can improve. I don't want to say there's a cure, but a lot of stuff is like chronic fatigue and burnout, adrenaline overload, just insomnia is something that works. And if you notice yourself waking up at 2 to 4 o'clock in the morning, there's a sleep cycle when you're naturally hit an REM sleep. If you're not stays, hey Rick, you are going to work through all of that. You're also going to notice things like muscle pain, neck and shoulder tightness, especially people with jaw clenching. I used to be a tooth grinder as well. Some people it manifests as migraines or tension headaches. Lower back pain is also common. In terms of digestive systems, it's things like nausea, IBS, eating too much, or binge eating. All of those things can be treated. An IFS treatment was actually designed for eating disorders, and then they found that it works because eating disorders were linked to trauma. That they realize that works. And there's cardiovascular. Some people it affects their heart. Some people it's inflammatory systems like allergies. You could break out in rashes, and then things like dissociation, things like that. All these are actual normal responses to chronic emotional threat. And but the amazing thing is this: is that we can repair our nervous system, and once we start repairing our nervous system, we're doing less damage to our nervous system. And once that happens, then the body starts to repair on its own. And I've seen people regain their energy. I've seen people go from sleepless night after sleepless night to going to full nights of sleep, and their digestions have settled, losing weight, and and just a healthy body overall. I hope that answers your question.
That's a lot of answers.
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny. I was diagnosed with that stomach and ulcers at the age of 11.
Mm-hmm.
But now with too many spinal cord injuries and shattering all of my bones but femurs, but the back, they say it's a severe case of neuropathic pain disorder.
Mm-hmm.
So stress, my whole spine goes on fire. I feel my shattered ankles, the carpals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it takes a few shots to have a good sleep, that's for sure. Because I'm all of this. It's unbelievable.
What trauma work have you done?
Not, here in British Columbia, I don't even qualify for counseling because they say I need a trauma center.
Yeah.
So I watch a lot of videos. I watch you, and that's about it. Try to keep busy. And I'm only a few miles from Satan's daughter, but my girls have gave me the blessing to go be me. So I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
Just need to get things in a row so I can leave the country to get surgery. I don't have muscles in the left buttocks to protect sciatic. And I got a rotated rib trying to stop the demon from drinking and driving one time. So I deal with a lot of pain.
Okay. Yeah. Well, pain management is
from the government, so.
Yeah, and the whole thing is like the government rarely does enough. Partly it's just they got a lot of people to support, but it's also a lot of the government programs. It's just like they're not trauma informed. And I've had one client last year that 19 years of cognitive behavioral therapy, right? And didn't do any trauma work in that 19 years. So it is a completely different thing. But what you're describing, like the stomach issues, the spine, feels like it's on fire, having broken bones, all of those things. There's signs that your body is living in a survival state for a really long time. And what you're going to find is the chronic stress and trauma, the constantly bracing, all of those things. It attacks your nervous system, and your nervous system makes it really hard to heal.
It's unreal. It's when I'm empath, so I still have people call me. I give all the advice and help people, but now I'm learning to help myself.
Good. But I want you to see that is what you're describing right there is a survival strategy onto itself, right? In order to feel validated and stuff like that, it's just like you help others. But the whole problem with that is in order to help somebody else, you ignore your own pain. And the trauma work actually becomes, putting you back in the center and working your way through it. But like you are starting, right? You're watching, you're learning, you're staying connected.
Yes. And I plan to sign up and pay for some sessions now too.
Good.
I pulled something off that gave me a little bit of extra money, so.
Good.
I already spoiled the kids for Christmas. I had to do it early, so because they get to go to Maui for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, they're going with the wrong parent, but that's okay.
Yeah.
They know who they are. They're like, Dad, I took them individually for supper, and they said, Dad, we understand.
Good.
We got this. They raised themselves, 12 and 14.
Yeah.
But I've been sending some of your clips to my oldest, who's a doctor in Edmonton. She drives around in clinically diagnosis. She's spent 13 years in university, master's, PhD in psychology.
Good for her.
She finally knows the truth just as July of Daddy-O here. So she's really excited. She really enjoys watching your little clips, and she's probably already investigated you.
Yeah, good.
She's pretty amazing, but she can only handle so much because we get on the phone and then it's almost she needs counseling listening to me.
Yeah.
So she had no idea.
Yeah. But at least you have a helping here, and just kind of be careful when you're sharing with others, that we can trauma dump and dump our traumas onto others. And what you want to do, much like my conversation with Alicia, is just hold that safe space. It's like, good, your truth is out there. You do explain it. You don't have to explain it anymore. The healing work is actually for you. It's not for her. And then when you do that work, keep in mind she was exposed to those tactics as well, right? And she has her own coping strategies in order to.
Yeah, I totally hurt her so bad, but I didn't know. I was just like hours of venting.
Yeah. Good, but keep in mind that's trauma, right? So, but the whole thing is
no one
just
around here. Sorry, there's just nothing around here in the Okanagan. Like it's, I don't know. These support groups are, I don't know. I'm not sure.
all right, well, we'll book a call, and I'll get you on the right path.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Adriana, I know you unmuted for a second, but muted back yourself.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you.
No.
Thank you for your answer. It was very helpful. I appreciate it.
Good. Yeah. Any other clarification that you'd like, or yeah? There's a lot of information on my videos. The links to different things are here as well. But yeah, there are like 4,400 videos out there, so I pretty much talk about everything. What's your situation right now?
I've been dealing with some physical issues as a result of the trauma I've been exposed to over the last 1.5 to 2 years. I was a very active person beforehand, and well, for these last, I would say 6 to 8 months, I've been on medical leave, so it's been quite difficult for me. I have noticed some progress since the beginning of the year, but I think a lot of my agency and my independence, the person that I was, has been taken away. And I think if I was just able to get through some of the physical impairments that I'm feeling, I would feel stronger and more confident. But I'm a little bit stuck. I'm not as stuck as I was a few months ago, but myself yet. And I don't want to. I don't want to go on the medication route right now.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Feel free to book an appointment, and we can have a chat, and I can talk you through what the Narcovery programs are like, and you can compare it to other programs. The whole thing is like, what I don't promise is like you being cured in 6 weeks or 12 weeks or 3 months or any of those things. It is a long. This recovery process is a long time, because these wounds are deep, and what you're describing is what I hear from so many survivors. It's like when trauma finally reaches its threshold, the body kind of steps in and says, I can't carry this anymore. And when the body takes over, we can feel like you've lost agency or identity and all of those things. And the fatigue that you're describing is a symptom of trauma and physical impairments, the shutdowns, all of those things. It's not random. It could be linked to your nervous system, just going into a very protective mode. Keep in mind you're in a survival state, so your system was in overload. That doesn't mean that you're weak. It was just like you were carrying more than any nervous system should have had to carry, and you had to do it. And the fact that you've been on medical leave, that's actually good, because you're giving your system a safe space for it to kind of heal. And but a little stuck, but not as stuck as before. I want you to realize that's cool. That's a plateau. So you can see that you can celebrate that as a win, and then go back to the top of the thing. What is it that I really want? And then kind of keep going through that cycle again. And yeah, avoiding medication is understandable. But yeah, but healing actually doesn't depend completely on medication. You'll find that medication does help for some people. It can also make things more complicated for others, because to get the right balance of the medications, it can take 6 months to a year just to get the dosages right. right? And who knows whether things are going to get better or worse in the meantime. But, the medical professionals, they do their best. I don't think they're out to get us. But any slow, consistent regulations that you can do with your body, what you're going to find is like simple things. And I know it sounds very basic, but just long exhales. If you exhale longer than you inhale, as long as you can, doing gentle baths. You'll also find for nervous system work, grounding, much like Keith was talking about, is really helpful. Warm baths, where you just kind of feel held and weightless. Also, soft stretching, movement. You're going to find stillness will make any kind of physical symptoms worse, and movement helps with those things. But and what you need to do now is just look for a way to rebuild identity after regulation, and you can't access motivation or ambition or clarity when your system is stuck in freeze. It just doesn't work. Right. And I actually tell people it's just like, when you're stuck in a freeze response, you can do all the affirmations in the world, but those positive things, the trauma itself will just end up learning to speak louder. So if we're just going to use affirmations as a guidepost, your goal isn't to say, I am a strong and powerful woman, right? Your goal is to say, I am working towards becoming stronger. I am working towards finding my power. I am moving towards. And you'll find those whether you call them incantations or affirmations or something, being a little bit gentler with your nervous system, just allows it when you kind of find those states that you guided yourself to them. But your body isn't betraying you. It's telling you exactly when healing needs to happen. And the shutdown the last 6 to 8 months, that's not punishment. It's actually a boundary. It's just saying this body can't handle this right now, and I need to stop. Right. So the more that you can breathe deeply, the more that you can soften your body, the more that you can rest without guilt. And all those times where you got something done and didn't collapse, it's amazing. Right? Because you're not stuck as you think. Because right now you're in a state of your nervous system recalibrating, and that's progress. Right?
Yeah. It's just when you compare to your old self from like pre-trauma, I think that's the most devastating. That's what I tend to do like almost every day.
Yeah, good. But I want you to see that that's comparison, right?
Yeah.
So just kind of pause and notice that. And if you're going to use IFS language, there's a part of you that is feeling shame because you were this way, but now you're this way. Right? But if you just kind of pull that aside, just ask that part to step aside. And if your goal isn't what was behind you, like if you're driving and you're looking at the rear view mirror, what are you going to do? Right? You're going to hit a tree. Right? But if you look ahead, it's like, I have all these physical symptoms. But that doesn't mean it's going to stop me. It just means I need to figure out new tools and new ways of going. And where is it that you want to be a year from now? Where do you want to be 5 years from now? And then get rid of everything that gets in the way. And one of the things that's getting in your way is trauma and PTSD. Just having those flashbacks of you used to be, you used to be, you used to be. Those are all trauma symptoms. And the thing is they're believable. But if we were to work together, if we were to be doing sessions, what I'm going to teach you is that voice actually isn't yours. Right? That comparison voice isn't yours. You got it from somewhere else. You weren't born with that. If you look at a kid, right, who breaks an arm, they still go to the playground and get their kid friends to sign it all. They don't reminisce or worry about, all of those other things. They're like, this cast is temporary. It's here for 6 weeks, and then it's going to come off. In the meantime, I'm still going to go play. I'm still going to be a kid. So those voices and those thoughts, they come from somewhere else. And once we start doing the trauma work, I can actually help you track the source. And eventually, it's just like being self-led is the goal, and even it's to become self-healing, because it's like if we work together, it's not what happens in the sessions, it's kind of what happens in between. It's the integration, and what you're going to find is slowly and slowly, you're going to become the parent figure that you never got. You're going to become your own mentor that you never had. And it starts by, just removing some of the BS, the belief systems, that I'm not good enough, or I need to perform to survive, or any of those things. I'm sure Yvette has something awesome to say. All right, listen to Yvette. Here she comes. And she's got an amazing perspective.
Okay, Adriana, I was gonna say during the healing process, it's crucial to acknowledge whatever feelings you're having, hurt, anger, whether it be shame or, and journaling really helps. And whatever you do, don't suppress those feelings because that will prolong the healing from the trauma. If you acknowledge those feelings and work through your feelings, whatever they may be, it will speed up your trauma healing process.
Yeah, I think that's what happened this last year and a half is I had no outlet and I felt like I had no voice and I wasn't venting or writing or doing anything to let those feelings like release themselves.
Yeah, that'll keep you stuck. Unfortunately, I was stuck for about a year before I found Miles' program.
Uh-huh.
And I had gone back to my abuser 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not alone and don't feel ashamed, take it one day at a time, one feeling at a time, one, step at a time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good. And what Yvette's talking about is just honoring inner wisdom, right? And that's really important because it's just like when we suppress emotions. I can tell you kind of what ends up happening. It takes a lot of energy to suppress an emotion, and it could actually take out more energy than the emotion actually has when it releases. And when we suppress the body, is then what? It's forced to carry something, and what we suppress, the body, when what we express instead of suppress. It's just like the body is allowed to release, and your story makes sense. You had no outlet. You had your system did what it did. It got overwhelmed, so it shut down. It restored all of those things, and that's probably why last year or two it's been just physically hard. It's like your body didn't have anywhere to send the pain except inwards. And what Yvette was talking about, like journaling, naming your feelings, putting down on a piece of paper. You're saying this hurts, this bothers me, I'm scared of this, or I feel lost. Allows you to get it out of your brain into a physical space. And the key is like you don't have to pour it out all at once. Right? Because what you're going to realize is that one sentence in a journal is a lot. I felt overwhelmed today. I created, that creates movement. And the suppression keeps you stuck. And even if you look at the Narcovery 8 apps, it's like feel your feelings. It's the second part, right? In order to feel our feelings, we need to feel safe enough to feel them. Because if you're not safe enough to feel them, then it's just like that's why you repress them. And it makes sense that even you had to repress those emotions because you weren't safe enough to feel them. But if we can create that safety, then we can feel them. And exactly what Yvette is talking about is just releasing them. And the fact that you're talking about it now and you're in this space, like you're gonna get healing just from talking about this. And thanks, Vet, for explaining the exact same model that we use to process, and you can see that it worked.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story.
No worries. All right.
You're welcome.
All right, Mary had to go. And Jean has a grounding mat and sheets. They help a lot. Yeah, I ended up buying grounding sheets as well. They seem to work. Sally, thank you for the great information. Thank you. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, Ginny, you're free to speak, or Jenny, or anyone else. Otherwise, we will call it for the evening. And the next session will be at the first week of January. I do try to host these things every 2 weeks, but just with the holidays, we're going to skip the next one. And you guys are all welcome to come back and bookmark some of those links that I had. Maybe I'll put them in the chat again, just so everyone has them. But it's the videos of the abuse cycle. You can go through it on your own. I know I sped through it. But this one is for the abuse cycle, and this one is for the drama triangle. And I'll post this one as soon as I can. And the calendar link for me is here. And we will see. I will speak to you tomorrow, Mary. And if there's nothing else, we'll call it an evening. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming in and sharing what you have. Go ahead, Jenny.
A very, very big thank you.
You're very welcome.
I actually missed it tonight. I should have put my alarm on.
Mm-hmm.
But the pills, oh my God, honestly, I've gone leaps and bounds, standing up with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And she insists to come down. And I say to her when she comes to my front door, and I'm like, it's lovely to see you, but if you criticize or you have anything to say that I'm not going to be happy with, you might as well turn around, get back in your car and go back home. And the majority of the time, it's fine. And sometimes it's like, yeah, I can't cope. And I said, okay, that's how we're going to have to deal with it now.
Yeah, but you're setting boundaries that are reinforced. Because you know what a boundary that isn't reinforced is? This is not a boundary. It's a prayer. It's a wish.
I never knew boundaries before. It takes a lot for me to say no. Even my kittens walk all over me, But to actually put these boundaries, it's made me so much stronger. So, like I say, the tools that you've taught me, wow, it just takes my breath away. And people have noticed since moving back to the UK. I don't have many friends, but when I've gone for my own personal counselling, then wow, you've really, really got into this. And I'm like, yeah, because it's myself. I'm trying to make better, stronger.
Yeah.
And to understand it more, it is just eye-opening.
Good.
So, wow, I know how many people you must be helping. You're an absolutely amazing guy. I can't express it enough.
Yeah, thank you so much. 1,000 clients and counting since 2019.
I'm looking forward to seeing you next year. I panicked on the message saying the last one for this year. And then I thought, oh, yeah, it's Christmas round the corner.
Yeah, it's Christmas. Yeah, the next one would have been on the 22nd, and that's too close to Christmas. And so I just kind of paused for that one. But we will be back online in the first week of January, and you can just go to the open house link and register there. And if you're on the mailing list, you'll get this full deck that you can read to on your own time, and there's links for the videos, which we'll send in the email as well. But what you're describing is actually monumental, right? And it's like, even if you look at the roadmap that we went through today, it was just like that last step is celebrate your wins. That's monumental. Right, so applause, yay! We get a group applause because people don't realize how much courage it takes. Yeah,
it does take a long time, but actually for myself to get the courage, because I can't walk away from my mother, because she walked away from me. It was the best 3 months of my life, Yeah. Because I only knew the last few years what narcissism was. I just thought she was a nasty mummy.
Yeah.
So and as soon as I realised that, yes, I am strong enough to say, whoa, if you are going to come in with that attitude, just turn around and walk away. Just go home and I'll call you. And sometimes at the end of the conversation, it's like, right, yeah, okay, call you and on. It's not call you later, call you tomorrow, call you and on.
Yeah.
And I don't feel mean anymore doing it.
No. Good, but that's kind of like kind of boundary. But if you think about the things that she said or done to you, it's just like that's actually just sounds like a firm boundary. And if you remember the drama triangle, it's just like that's the upper triangle. Saying no without being angry about it is monumental. And especially when you grew up in environments where your needs weren't safe, your nervous system, what does it do? It learns that saying no leads to danger. So no wonder it's hard to say no, because what are you rejecting as a child? Right? It was a child mind rejecting. It feels rejection. It feels abandonment. It feels punishment. It feels withdrawal of love. So saying no makes my life worse. So what's easy to do is say yes. But what makes your life better is saying no. What you're going to realize is in life, it's what you say no to defines you, not what you say yes to. Because anyone can say yes to anything. But saying no to difficult things is it's good. And every time that you set a boundary now, And keep in mind, it's just like at first when you start setting boundaries, our voice is going to shake, stomach's going to go in knots, we're going to have all sorts of regret. You're literally rewiring your nervous system every time that you say no. And you're teaching your body, I'm allowed to protect myself now. I don't have to abandon myself to keep the peace. I can say no and still feel safe. And remind yourself of that. It's not just setting a boundary and saying no, but after you've done it, say, I said no, and I'm okay, I survived. And then it makes the next time easier and easier and easier. If we're looking out the front window, it's just like, it's going to take you more no's to get you the direction that you want. And you can see that, I'm glad we got to connect, but you can see that your nervous system is getting stronger and clearer. And people respond differently when you anchor your boundary instead of, pleading for one. You're pleading for boundaries. Please listen to what I have to say. It's like, no, this is what I have to say. Listen or don't listen. This is the rules. If you're in my house, these are the rules. If you don't like that, these are the consequences for it. And I'm not upset with you. Right? It's kind of like a puppy. A puppy's going to pee on your floor, but you want it to housebreak it. It's like, you take it outside and clean up the mess, and then you wait till it does it again until eventually, 5th, 10th, 20th time. With moms, it might be the 277,000th time, but you'll see that they do get it slowly over time. And every time that you honor that, it's like you reclaim yourself a little bit more, right? Because what you're talking about is not just setting boundaries. What I want you to see is what you're actually doing here by doing what you're doing is you're breaking generational wounds. You're breaking generational patterns.
I've also accepted that, she is going to live forever. That was always my nightmare in life. And I'm like, well, if she does live forever, it'll be what it'll be. Before instead of terrifying myself.
Okay.
I'm going to wish you happy holidays and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Good. I don't know if Yvette raised her hand again or I just didn't lower it from the
Yes,
list.
I did.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Yvette.
I was going to say to Jeannie, is it Jenny or Jeannie? Is she still there?
Jenny.
Yeah, I'm still
Jenny?
Jenny.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're still in what... Okay, there's 3 phases of healing: victim, survivor, and thriver. You're still, in my opinion, I could be wrong, in the victim mode, but once you hit the survivor, you will feel more empowered. And then once you hit the next phase of healing, it's like you might feel pity for your abuser because of their weak self. What am I trying to say, Miles?
Yeah, well, it's just what you have, you have more compassion, empathy, and humanity in your baby finger than they have in their entire nervous system.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And the thing is, it's just why do they try to break you? Why do they try to break you? Because you have something that they can never have. And if they can break you, they can realize that, oh, that's not important. You don't need those things. Therefore, I am better. And we can actually feel bad for them because they're never going to feel the love that we felt. They're never going to feel the losses that we felt. They're never going to feel any of those things. Their goal is just to manipulate and all of those things. And in which case, it's just it's a sad existence. And if you want to look at long term, these narcissistic abusers, it's unless they're very cunning and they're very covert, and what you're going to find is the really bad ones. You want to know where they end up? Go to an old age home and watch the angry people that have nobody coming visit them. And what they're doing is they're renting their frustrations on these poor care workers, right? But that's going to be their life, right? But what do we have a chance at, right? What does a vet have a chance at? Family, Christmas, love, belonging, all of those things forever. And, connection to our children. And I know Alicia's struggling right now, but you still have that and it's coming back.
I got one question.
Go ahead, Rick.
So I'm at a tough stage. I'm showing all the strength to her or them, but really, even text messages will ruin my day. It's
From
like,
them?
oh yeah, she'll just call me, sperm donor and deadbeat. And I mean, I raised our girls up until COVID. She used the court system. Even my demon mom, who groomed me for these 2 exes, 4 daughters, raised 5, but they still can get under your skin just over a text message. It's just.
Yeah, so that's trauma talking, right? So take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. I want you to slow your breathing down because I can see you're in the middle of a flashback right now, right? Right. Can you do something for me? I just want you to tap your fingers together really fast. Good. I want you to say, I'm having a flashback and remembering text message and baiting and all of those other things. And then I want you to slow your breathing down, but also slow your fingers down. Slow them down. And invite your mind to slow down. And then bring your fingers to a complete stop. Good. I want you to realize that it's just, the baiting works, right? They bait you and they want conflict. They thrive on conflict. It works. But if you don't give them what they want, then what are they going to do? They're going to have to find something else. Because you're describing something that's very common and it's very misunderstood, and it's a part of trauma recovery. And it's not that you're weak and it's not that you're overreacting. It's just that, that now that you should be over by now, right? This is your nervous system and it's conditioned by these people.
I remember 48 years of my life, and my mom is one of them. So,
yeah, I know, but I can see that your nervous system right now is reflecting that, right? But that's not the real you. When you slow down your fingers and you found that small kind of breath, that's you. So let's go back to you, and there's a traumatized version of you that's been doing a lot of the talking. And what you're going to actually realize from this calm state, if you remember the upper triangle, going to the observer and setting a boundary for your own thoughts, and just say that their tone equals danger. That's what your brain says. That's a lie. That's a belief system. Their words equal a threat. That's also a lie. That's also a belief system. A message from them, your nervous system says prepare for impact. It's a belief system, and a belief system, the acronym for that is BS. It's BS. It's a way that they use to control and manipulate you. But when those texts come in, it's not actually about the words that ruin your day. The words themselves are meaningless. They're just words on the screen. It's the state change that your nervous system gets thrown into. Because you see that text message, what's happening physically is you're getting hit with adrenaline. And what happens with the adrenaline? It probably hits your stomach in some way. And then what happens then? Your body is now in a fear state, an anger state, or a shame state. And that's your body responding to predatory behavior. It's a text message. It's not a predator. Right? And this isn't psychological weakness. What we're talking about here is survival programming. And the powerful and empowering part is that you're talking about it, right? And you're realizing that they're just words on the page, and for whatever reason, your identity is based on their approval. And what you're going to realize, what Yvette kind of says again and again and again, is it's just like you're never going to get validation from them. So why would you try, right?
Well, it's not even a try. It's just that she'll never stop. And I didn't know until 2017 what this even narcissist was.
Let's start with, I know, but you're being triggered again, and just slow down your breathing again. I know.
I exposed her, and she'll never stop trying to kill myself.
But you did. But now it's time to rest and time to heal. So let's go to the practical things. I want you to turn off your notifications for her number. And then I don't want you to read the messages right away. I want you to put them in a separate folder. And my rule for most people that are kind of like in your state is you don't respond to messages for 24 hours, right? And in your state, I would say don't read them for 24 hours. There's nothing that needs to happen. And then wait another 24 hours before you respond. Because what you're going to see is your first reaction is the one that they want, the one that they can point their fingers at. When I was talking to Mary about anger and all of those things, good, you express anger, they got evidence now. Cool, take away the evidence, and then you can redefine yourself. Right? But
they use children.
yeah, they do, and Mary's dealing with that, and there's a 2-hour video on what that is that I shared with her to understand.
Okay.
But that's all part of it. But the whole thing that we're looking to change is to create that space, right? When we look through the, first we have to create safety. And right now, if text messages are triggering for you, shut them off, right?